Hello and good evening, and welcome to yet another episode of HTree powered NIPM Kerala audio rooms. Today, being the 13th edition, kudos to the audio rooms team for successfully and consistently running it on all Thursdays at 8 pm. We would also like to thank our sponsors for the HR Carnival, which is a festival of events ranging from launcher, competition among women HR professionals, HR Carnival quiz, which is conducted on a pan India basis for professionals and students, and DEI Awards, which is a competition among corporates, and also the audio rooms running every Thursday. We would like to thank Sudkemi India Limited for sponsoring the launcher program, VGuard for sponsoring the DEI Awards, Cochin International Airport CIAL for sponsoring the quiz program, Ergos for sponsoring the DEI Masterclass, and finally HTree for sponsoring the NIPM Kerala audio rooms. Thank you, dear partners, for being with us and supporting us in the HR Carnival journey. Now, coming on to our today's discussion, it is a special topic we are going to discuss. It is not connected with HR, not strategic management, but connected with our day to day life. As you all know, sleep is the best meditation, right? But do you know what happiness is? Happiness is waking up, looking at the clock, and finding that you still have 2 more hours to sleep. Am I right? In fact, we spent one third of our lives sleeping. Yet, 2 out of every 3 urban Indian faces sleep issues. In today's hyper-connected world, we are disconnected from the most essential of life functions, which is none other than sleep. So let's join together for the session on waking up to sleep to understand tips, tricks, facts, and myths surrounding sleep and how to use this natural superpower. We welcome our speaker, Satwik Jaitley, who is helping hundreds of people overcome their nocturnal challenges, and he is on a mission to reconnect our society with the most essential pillar of our health. A few lines about Satwik Jaitley. Satwik Jaitley is a biologist and scientist turned sleep diplomat and consultant. He is a ASA and WSS certified, means American Sleep Association and World Sleep Society certified. His corporate work experience includes Institute of Medical Sciences, Banaras Hindu University, National Center for Antarctica and Ocean Research, Goa, ITC Life Sciences and Technology Center, Bangalore, Frost and Sullivan, Middle East and Africa, and is with one of the big four consulting firms. He has also conducted, you would be surprised to hear, the world's first 360-degree sleep program with ITC hotels. He has authored and co-authored 20 plus patents in the area of sleep, sleep foods, mental health, and beyond, and has helped many prestigious organizations such as the Indian Army, ITC Hotels, Taj Hotels, Dubai Government, and several international universities as well. He is also consulting or giving advices to many prominent public figures that includes non-politicians, Bollywood celebrities, and artists to address and overcome their sleep issues and in turn become more productive and healthy. So we welcome you, Satwik Jaitley. We are looking forward to hear from you. So excited to hear from you. Over to you, Satvik.
Thank you. Thank you, Shama. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. It's a delight to be meeting all of you, I should presume and say, virtually if so. And I'm very thankful to the NIPM team for organizing a session for something that is so close, so easy to understand for all of us, yet has been mystified and convoluted into the present state that we see today. Right now, so what is going to happen in this session is we are going to start off by looking at some of the facts and the myths and the science and the technology of sleep, and then we open it up for a Q&A. You can put your questions in the chat box, and the team, Ajesh and Shama, will be bringing them to me, and I'll try to answer as much as I can. And the whole intent of this session, right, why uh, in all of my career choices sleep has been a prominent part, is because it is something that I'm passionate about, of making sure that every one of us achieves better sleep, because it is linked to productivity, it is linked to health. We'll go through all of those in detail. But also at the same time, from a corporate setup point of view, why am I discussing that with the esteemed audience such as yourself? It's because whether we like it or not, corporate entities, corporate influencers, corporate organizations do impact the general sleep of any individual. Any working class urban professional in the country has more dependency on the corporate workplace for sleep than anything at their personal front. So while a part of my sleep diplomacy does include the bottom-up change, which is reaching out to people individually through social media, through person connects, so on and so forth, but a large portion of that is also the top-down change, talking to decision makers, talking to influencers, talking to corporate policy makers such as yourselves, who are able to then influence change, then able to understand and realize the value of a good night's sleep, and hence make a difference into the world. Right. So, without much ado, let me just deep dive into the session. Uh, Shama, please let me know in case the screen is glitchy. I'll cross fingers and toes that it doesn't happen. Shama, if you can kindly let us know if the screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, it is.
Lovely. Great.
Yes.
So, like it is mentioned, the session is called Waking Up to Sleep because the session is all about generating awareness about sleep and how it is important. Very correctly, as Shama mentioned, we spend one third of our life sleeping. Whether we like it or not, whether you believe it to be true or not, you are going to spend one third of your life sleeping. Now, why is this image in front of us such a shocker? And that was a shocker for me when I first saw it. Because while we do one third of our life, we are sleeping, we spend 6 years of our life doing chores, 4 years of our life eating and drinking. Comparatively, you look at 10.5 years of our life working. But what is strange and almost infuriating to me is the kind of value space that we have built around everything else except sleep. What do I mean by that? If you look at working, there are ways of working. You can work in person, you can work remotely, you can work in a co working space, you have dedicated internet lines, computer systems, softwares, hardwares, you go on and on. Compare it to social media or social networks, televisions, video games, different kind of apps that we have, right? Eating and drinking, there's a whole value system surrounding all of these activities, whether it's education, grooming, eating, whatever you see on the screen. But sleeping as a value space, sleeping as an activity, it is reduced to the same old: the bed, the mattress, the pillow. And if you are lucky and you come across a crackpot like me, somebody who's pestering you to sleep better, right? But at the end of the day, we do need to realize that comparatively, when we spend a lot less time doing everything else, we are expected to put more attention to what we do one third of our lives. And what is sleep, right? Sleep, you go to Webster's dictionary, you go to Wikipedia, it's a state of reduced stimuli, and it's a state of rest, somnolence. In a very simple and crude term, sleep is the closest to death that we get every night that we are alive, right? And what actually happens when we are sleeping is, all the morbidity aside, what happens is that our body undergoes all sorts of repairs while we are sleeping. This is the natural way evolution and nature has given us to make repairs into our bodies. It is a natural way that we are able to uh, de stress our minds, we are able to de strain our body, and we are essentially able to cleanse our systems so that we are better prepared for the next day, starting from the muscles to the bones to the vital organs to the skin. For all the ladies out here, beauty sleep is actually a fact. You are repairing your skin, you are providing it more collagen, you are providing it all sorts of nice things when you're sleeping. And for all the fitness enthusiasts out there, you are actually burning calorie when you're sleeping as well, right? Similarly, for the brain, very importantly, for all of us exposed to the corporate systems, all of our brains activity that we do throughout the day, we are putting it on overdrive, we are overcharging ourselves, we are pushing ourselves through the day 8, 10, 12 hours a day. At night is the only time your brain gets time to rest and recuperate. Biologically speaking, your brain literally rearranges itself. The neurons rearrange themselves, the glial cells, which is another type of brain cells, rearrange themselves in your cerebrum so that you are able to process memories, so that you are able to process ideas, thoughts, plans for the next day, so on and so forth. But if all this is essential, all this is necessary, all this usually happens, it's business as usual. What is the need of a person like me, and why are we required to sit together? We are required to sit together because ever since we have been children, we have been taught that sleep is for losers. You snooze and you lose, right? There are poems told about it. There are idioms told about it. It's in Hindi for all of us who understand Hindi. It's essentially the literal translation of you snooze, you lose. जो सोवत है सो खोवत है, जो जागत है सो पावत है. And all this sense of sleep deprivation being a cool thing, or sleep deprivation being the cost of success, has made us believe that it's perfectly normal and we should be wearing sleep loss as a badge of honor. That we are expected to be sleep deprived if we are expected to succeed. But the fact and the science prove the other way. Why do I say so? So, first, look on the right side. All of us expose ourselves to screen throughout the day, whether it's the biggest screen, which is the television, whether it's the medium sized screen, which is the laptop, or whether it's the small size screen, which is a mobile. All of us are subjecting ourselves to bright lights throughout the day. We are caffeinating ourselves to the point of anxiety, to the point of irrational heartbeats. And we are also stimulating ourselves with various forms of content. Through music, through visuals, we are continuously stimulating our brains. Now, what struck me on the left, there's a movie called Zero Dark 30. It's disturbing and unraveling in many ways. But usually, what happens is, how do you break a hardened criminal or a terrorist? You do what is called the third degree torture. We have all heard about it. The Geneva Convention dictates against it. You'll be surprised to know that the same three things are subjected to individuals undergoing third degree: bright lights, overstimulation through chemical agents like caffeine, and loud noises. So basically, what we are doing is, through the course of our day, because of our lifestyle, because of the way that we work, we are, putting ourselves through that torture. We are undergoing that torture on a daily basis, and it is reached to a point that we are bragging about lack of sleep. We feel happy when we tell people that we are sleep deprived, and socially speaking as well. This is a TikTok trend where people are drawing lines under their eyes to appear sleep deprived because it is seen as a sign of hustle, that if you are sleep deprived, you must be hustling, you must be succeeding in life. And all of us know that Netflix's biggest competitor is not Amazon, it's not Disney, it's actually sleep. Because the endless amount of content that you have, the only way you're going to be able to consume all of that is if you are cutting down on sleep time. Because God help us if we try to cut down on our work time and what Netflix. I'm surrounded by HR professionals over here. I'm pretty sure all of us, or most of us, will have the policy about not being able to open Netflix onto our official systems, right? And this binge watching or sleep is for losers, all of this has factored into our motivation realm. In our minds, we substitute sleep with success, and that is absolutely not right. Why is it not right? Because besides the biological effects on individual level, right? Even 2 nights or 48 hours of sleep deprivation are more than enough to irritate you, give you cognitive impairment, actually hamper your memory. All of us would have observed this. Even one night of zero sleep or impaired sleep would have made us forget some things the next day. It can be something as trivial as forgetting our mobile or forgetting our keys. But think about it. If you are doing that to yourself on a regular basis, you are making yourself prone to larger memory lapses. Think about it. Some of us may be suffering from diabetes, from hypertension, or from disorders that makes us dependent on certain form of medication. What if we say that the risk of diabetes itself is increased when you're sleep deprived, right? Immunity, which was the talk of the town up until last year because of the pandemic, that is also directly linked to lack of sleep. All of us have felt our heart rate variability and our ability to control our mood decrease when we are sleep deprived, right? And decrease reaction time and accuracy. If you look at it, armed forces of any country, they rely on these things: reaction time, accuracy, our ability to make better judgments in the nick of time. All of these basic human functions are impaired because of lack of sleep. Now, even if you don't care about yourself at an individual level and you're a selfless warrior towards success, let me break your bubble. On the right hand side, what you see is the estimated loss to the global GDP divided basis countries because of lack of sleep. Now, it's not a direct translation, but what happens is people, the populations which are sleep deprived, are in turn poor workers. Populations which are sleep deprived are in turn a burden on the healthcare economies. People who are sleep deprived are in turn risk for insurance companies. All of these provide the loss to the economy. Unfortunately, so far, India does not do any calculation of this sort, but to literally wake up and take notice of why this is happening. Now, Philips as an entity does this survey.
Hello. Yeah, sorry for the technical glitch. Please be with us. We are trying to connect him again. By the time Satvik comes back, would like to just inform you if you have any questions connected with sleep issues, please put it in the chat box so that we can immediately ask him once his presentation gets over. Also wanted to inform you that the NIPM HR Carnival DEI Awards we have announced, and the last date to apply for that is 31st May, which is coming Wednesday. So, corporates who are having DEI initiatives, kindly scan the QR code shown here, or you can directly apply using the flyer which is posted in the NIPM social media channels. And coming Saturday, day after tomorrow, on 27th May, we are conducting a DEI workshop wherein corporates or even any professionals, HR professionals or people who are interested in DEI can participate. It is a workshop for participants who wanted to initiate DEI processes in their company. So if you wanted, please scan this QR code. You need to make a payment of 500 rupees, and it is a full day program. And it is conducted in a hybrid model. You can attend it offline and online. The Launcher program is in full swing. Launcher is a competition among lady HR professionals. The first initial process is over, and the other processes are going on in full swing. We also thank HTree for sponsoring our NIPM Kerala audio rooms. Thank you for supporting us in this venture. Along with the DEI awards, we have also the business quiz, NIPM HR Carnival business quiz happening in June. So if the team consists of 2 members, and if you're interested, this is also open for corporates and students. Whoever wanted to attend can scan the QR code shown here. Thank you. Once again, thanking our sponsors, Sukhemi for sponsoring the launcher program, Cochin International Airport for sponsoring the quiz program, VGuard for sponsoring the DEI awards, Ergo for sponsoring the DEI masterclass, and HTree for sponsoring the NIPM Kerala audio rooms. And this is our 13th edition running. We will be shortly, Satvik will be joining us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you are Satvik. Welcome back.
Yeah, am I audible now? I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. I'll
That's
change
okay.
positions. Hopefully, the network will be better now.
Okay.
Shama, if you can please tell me where exactly did you lose me?
I think sleep deprivation. It is even causing loss to the economy.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I am really sorry. I do apologize for the breakage that happened. I hope it's visible and it's smooth now, Shama.
Yes, it is visible. But
Okay,
can you bring it to full size, full screen?
okay, it's full screen now.
Yeah, it is now.
Okay, perfect. So sleep loss is causing losses to the economy, ladies and gentlemen. Close to 2% of global GDP is lost every year because of sleep loss. Not directly, but because people who are sleep deprived, suffering from all of these issues, end up becoming a burden on the exchequer directly or indirectly. Because of that, sleep is a thing which should be also thought of from monetary perspectives, not just from perspectives of personal health.
No surprises, because we are an increasingly sleep deprived society. Sleep aids market globally is growing, and Philips, which does a annual survey on Indian sleeping habits, tells us that the number is staggering when it comes to Indians who are sleep deprived. While it is safe to say that the condition is improving because people are at least realizing and asking for help, rather than trying to put themselves to sleep successfully, and then facing the medical clinical consequences of it. Individuals are now realizing that they need help to sleep better. And what's more disturbing for me is the fact that our children are not sleeping well. All of us who have children in our households will realize that children are expected to sleep more but are actually sleeping less. This is particularly true for teenagers who are expected to sleep 1 or 2 hours more than us but end up sleeping 2 to 3 hours less than us, because a teenager will do anything but sleep at night. It can be social media, it can be socializing, or for the diligent ones, it can even be studying. But at all of it, the core issue that arises is we are breeding a generation of chronically poor sleepers, right? Because of that, the next generation, which is supposed to be a demographic dividend, is close to becoming our demographic disaster, right? Because we'll have a generation which is chronically sleep deprived, low on attention, unhealthy, and hence not able to contribute to the society, right? This, as a pyramid, all of us from the management background will be very familiar with. It's called the Maslow's hierarchy of need, and it is scientifically proven that every level, whether it's the basic needs or safety or belonging or esteem, sleep deprivation impacts every level of this particular pyramid. All of us are, impacted at every need level because of sleep, whether it is about your esteem, that especially for women, it was observed that women perceive other women and men to be less attractive when people are sleep deprived. Whether it's about belonging, you feel you are less affectionate and you are not giving enough affection out yourself if you're sleep deprived, because of moodiness, irritability, so on and so forth. And safety, because of sleep deprivation, you are more risk taking than you normally are, right? And this is a phenomena which is beautifully utilized in all the casinos in all the world, wherein they don't have watches, clocks, and they don't have windows, because you are not expected to be in sync with your body, not know when it's time to wake up, not know when it's time to sleep. Because of that, you take more risk and the house always wins. But what is more important for me is the top of the pyramid, which is the self actualization bit, right? Wherein we think sleep deprivation is the cost of success, but on the other hand, it's actually the opposite, right? Whether it is Benjamin Franklin, one of the most prolific inventors, Leonardo da Vinci, or the wealthy individuals of the world like the Bezos and the Gates, all of them were prolific sleepers, or are prolific sleepers. They sleep 7 to 9 hours a night, and they prioritize sleep over mindlessly trying to catch up with the day. They would rather get a good night's sleep and have more productivity the next morning. And it is a study which was also done on business leaders of more than 80 organizations, wherein the leadership associated behaviors like result orientation, problem solving, seeking perspective, and supporting, all of that are linked to a good night's sleep. If you don't get a good night's sleep, you don't give enough attention, you are lacking concentration, you are not creative, your decision making suffers. So at the end, even at the corporate, at the enterprise level, sleep does play a part in your success, in your company's success. So all the HRs in the audience, please take note. Sleep as a policy should be one of the core elements of your entire wellness policy, because you link wellness to productivity, right? And at a personal level, again, all of us who drive should be aware that there is a phenomenon called microsleep, which is the time when we doze off for 0 to 6 seconds involuntarily. It happens when we are on the road not doing anything, or it may even happen on a boring lecture like mine. Although now I think That disturbance came as a blessing in disguise because at least it made people take notice, right? Now, because of that, this is a cross country study done on truckers all over the United States, where individuals were caught micro sleeping for less than 6 seconds while they were on the wheel. Now, imagine you are having a micro sleep at 80, 100, 120 kilometers per hour when you have traffic all around you. It's not a good place to be in, right? Again, I'll come back to the corporate workers of us, wherein we believe that how can I sleep? I have so much to do, I have so much to achieve, I have so much to manage. And this is a phenomenon which is very popular in Japan, a country which we all envy for its work ethic, for its discipline, so on and so forth. There's a phenomenon called karoshi, which is basically translating into overworking yourself to death. Don't worry, this is not an individual who has passed away. This is actually an individual who was sleeping on the side of the road, and it is a fairly normal sight all over Tokyo to find people who are sleeping on the side of the road, sleeping in elevators, sleeping in their offices, and it's actually considered a sign of a good worker, right? And nap boxes were deployed all over Japan so that people are able to take naps better. But are you able to sleep in something like this? To me, this looks more like a coffin, less like a nap box. And closer to home to us, India suffers deeply from social jet lag. We are disciplined individuals, right? Monday to Friday, we follow a separate schedule. Saturday and Sunday, we find a separate schedule. And what happens is that we try to cram up the 5 days of activity in 2 days, right? Whatever we were not able to do during the weekday, we try to make time for it during the 2 days that we get in form of weekend. And that basically upsets your brain. It confuses your brain when you restart work, and hence the concept of Monday blues exists because you followed a separate schedule of sleep and wake on weekdays and on weekends. Now, decoding sleep, very simply put, sleep, contrary to popular belief, is not a process which starts at, let's say, 11 o'clock and ends at, let's say, 7 o'clock. It's a pattern of roughly 90 minutes, which is repeated multiple times throughout the night. And it is not something which is in isolation only at night. It is an outcome of our daily activities during the day. This particular rhythm of our body is called circadian rhythm, right? What this basically means is that our body has a specific time dedicated for waking up, for doing certain activities, for physical activities, for mental activities, for biological functions, for everything. That is our circadian rhythm. And that also dictates when you will go to sleep and when you will wake up. And some of you who are a little bit conscious and aware about sleep will realize that sleep is not one type, it is of two types, which is called the REM and the NREM sleep. One is a deep sleep where your eyes are moving, basically your dream state, and your NREM sleep, which is a light sleep where your body is relaxed, but your mind is still not completely shut down, right? Now, what impacts sleep, right? A lot of factors do impact sleep, but we can broadly categorize them into the physical and the biological. The physical factors are the beddings, the temperature, the light, the noise that is surrounding you. And biologically, top and foremost is food, right? It's medication, it's the amount of stress and fatigue that you're under, right? And when it comes to, let's say, like noise, you have concepts like white noise, which is basically a continuous stream of low frequency noise which drowns out any disturbing noises, right? Whether it is like brain hacking, your ability to listen to certain sounds and feel relaxed. Some of us are using these apps on YouTube or on standalone apps, which are playing the sounds of forest, which are playing the sounds of the beach, so on and so forth. And in a lot of cases, this does have a childhood connection. Noises that we were used to when we were growing up put us to sleep faster because they comfort us. Right? When it comes to bedding do more than the aesthetics of looking white and pretty. They do regulate the temperature of your body when you're sleeping because you're in direct contact with it. There are specific thread counts which are recommended for sleep during summers and during winters. And a good bedding also helps your posture to be corrected, which is going to help you sleep better. Right on the right hand side, you can see some of the most popular sleeping positions. All of us will be divided into one or the other, or we'll be switching between all of this. In terms of temperature, I always keep telling people, all the people that I help sleep better, an air conditioner is your biggest ally. Do not look at air conditioner as a luxury anymore. The kind of climates that we are facing all over the world, air conditioner is a necessity because it's an ally to a good night's sleep. You are expected to put the temperature between 18 to 24 degrees every night for better sleep. And light, I have always already discussed. Blue light is bad for you, whether it's the light of the large screen, medium screen, and small screen. Blue light will hamper your sleep. And sunlight, daily exposure to sunlight is good for your sleep, and so is red light. That's why most of the phones that we have right now, most of our phones will show up a night mode. And by night mode, I don't mean the background turning black and the letters turning white. No, night mode is when your phone gets rid of the blue tinge or the white tinge on your screen, and it sort of becomes yellowish and red and orange, right? Biologically speaking, sleep is a way of recharging your mind, I told you, but that also means how much energy you are spending versus how much energy you are taking. So the calorie concept kicks in. In terms of diet, melatonin is the most interesting hormone which is linked to sleep. It is basically called the vampire hormone because it gets secreted only at night after sunset. And who's the biggest enemy of melatonin? You guessed this right. It's caffeine. It basically goes and attaches itself to the same receptors to which melatonin needs to attach, right? There are certain proteins like epigenin, like melatonin, serotonin, derived from tryptophan, and so on and so forth, which are required to be a part of your diet along with carbohydrates, right? And timely digestion. It's an age old thing that we have heard traditionally as well. Give 2 hours of gap before your dinner and between your dinner and your sleep time. Again, there are certain medications which are circadian upsetters. Sleeping pills are an absolute no no until and unless recommended by your healthcare provider because of an existing health condition. But there are chances that even if it's an acute condition, let's say it's a seasonal condition, let's say it's just around appraisal time that you're losing sleep, getting addicted to sleeping pills will not be the solution. And in stress is the biggest cause. Roughly 70 to 80% of people that I speak with regarding sleep challenges, they cause stress as the major reason, right? And they end up saying that, you know what, when I try to go to sleep, I end up thinking one thing, that leads to another thing, that leads to another thing, and it's a never ending loop. I am not able to shut down my brain. My brain is always active. And to that, my solution is that your brain is like a Formula One car, right? It is running at breakneck pace, right? It's the most fastest computer in the world. Now, how do you stop a Formula One car? You do not apply brakes, because if you apply brakes, the car will overturn, right? And that's what happens. All of our bodies gets into overdrive the moment we encounter something stressful in our thoughts. So how do you stop a Formula One car? You do the reverse. The engine goes into reverse to stop and brake a Formula One car. BRAKE, not BREAK. Now, how do you end up doing that is because your brain is getting into problem solving mode when we are sleeping at night. Because our brain is thinking, what next, what next, what next? It is basically going into the realm of unpredictable things. How do you break that? Is by coming towards predictability. You break that by thinking of predictable thoughts. How do you do that? You either read a book that you've read 1,000 times, listen to a song that you've read 1,000 times, think about stuff that you know how it's going to end. That's why yoga and meditation comes in. And in the end, all of these activities have been scientifically proven to reduce the amount of stress hormones or cortisol in your body and increase the amount of melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, right? Coming towards the end of our session, barring the technical glitches on my end, these are the recommendations that you see in screen in front of you. 7 to 9 hours is what is recommended. 10 to 11 and 6 may be okay. for adults between 18 to 65. But please make sure you are getting the recommended amount of sleep, because we just talked about the impact, but also look at people in your circle who may be belonging to different age groups. Be aware of their sleep requirements. For older people that I interact with or help with, even in our own household, we'll see older adults not being able to sleep as much as they were able to earlier. That's perfectly normal. As we get older, because we are doing less metabolism, right? Because we are producing less energy, we are using less energy, our sleep requirement naturally goes down, right? And even a 5 to 6 hour is deemed okay for older adults over the age of 65. But what worries me, like I mentioned, is this teenage. 8 to 10 hours is what's recommended. 7 hours is the minimum. But I am in urban India and urban phenomena, urban teenagers that I majorly interact with. 5 to 6 is the average that I've got, and that's a worrying fact, right? On the right hand side, these are your sleep hygiene practices. Go to sleep at the same time every night. Make sure that if you're taking daytime naps, they are limited to below 20 minutes. Because remember, I told you 90 minutes is the roughly one sleep cycle. 20 minutes is the time that you're in light sleep, that your brain is not realizing that it's night and it's not shutting down completely. Anything more than 20 minutes, you are more likely to get into deep sleep, and then you wake up not realizing what planet you are on and not realizing what happened to you, right? Keeping your bedroom dark at night, again because of the light part that I mentioned. Avoid electronics at least 30 minutes. If not 30 minutes, please try to control it to around 10 to 15 minutes, wherein you just close your eyes, do your meditation, hum a song, anything spiritual, anything religious that you're following, do that. Don't do anything that is going to stimulate your brain or your eyes, right? Keep the temperature between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. For some individuals, wearing socks may be helpful. Avoid alcohol and narcotics, and please avoid caffeine after 5 p.m. at all times. And definitely no caffeine after sundown. That's the rule, right? That's the basic sleep hygiene, essential sleep hygiene all of us need to maintain. Otherwise, what happens is people who are chronically sleep deprived may be recommended something which is called as polysomnography, right? Which is basically the sleep study. Now, in India, it's very nascent stages, but this is what happens to you in a polysomnography, right? You are given 16 electrodes to your head, two to your nose, one to your neck, four on your chest, four on your arms, four on your fingers, and then you are expected to go to sleep. Ironic, but yes, that's the expectation. But technology is moving ahead. We have got wearables, non contact sleep monitors, all of these things which are now readily available. Please utilize them if you believe you or somebody that you know has certain amounts of sleep issues. Most of these devices do come with their own algorithms which give you suggestions. Make sure your interventions do include looking at certain food items which are proven as per research, clinical research, to help you sleep better. For example, let's look at bananas. Bananas are rich in magnesium. Magnesiums are known for muscle relaxation based on clinical studies. Let's look at turkey. Turkey is very rich in tryptophan. And some of us, or most of us, or everybody of us who has stayed in the United States or is exposed to the American culture will realize that a Thanksgiving dinner of turkey is almost always followed by nap time. It's because turkey is rich in tryptophan, which basically converts into serotonin, which is your happiness hormone, and that converts into melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, right? These are some of the food items, even for vegetarians. I'm a vegetarian myself. There are ample options if you go and realize what kind of a diet you can have. But the most important fact is realizing and doing an intervention, right? Like I mentioned, bedroom is very important, but so is the other real estate in your house. Living room, kitchen, bathroom, the commute, the playground, everywhere your activities will define the kind of sleep habits that you'll have. And I'm pretty sure some of you or most of you will try to getting into some good sleep habits tonight itself. But sorry to disappoint you, nothing will work wonders in one night. except sleeping pills, which I will not recommend. Again, what you need to do is make it into a habit. Make sure you get into a rhythm of doing this regularly. You can ask, how long is this regularly for? Clinically speaking, 14 to 28 days is what it takes for somebody to reset their sleep cycle. Whether it is because of jet lag, whether it is because of shift disorders, 14 to 28 days is what I have observed in the Indian subcontinent. Because of our very unique sleep wake cycles, we are able to reset our sleep rhythms, right? So remember what I told you. You don't only think about sleep at night. Be cognizant about sleep when it is your turn down time, which is basically what I call the time when I know that I'm getting into bed. But also be cognizant about it during your dinner, during the snack. Like I mentioned, no caffeine. At your lunch, like I mentioned, keep it light so that you don't feel too drowsy after lunch during the noon. Because remember the circadian rhythm? Yes, it does talk about a dip in our activity in the afternoon. Think about it during breakfast because it gives you energy throughout the day. And also think about how your night sleep was when you woke up, right? So, again, to reiterate, you need to slow down, you need to recollect, you then need to disconnect, you then need to unwind, and then you can shut down. This should be all of our nighttime sleep rituals the moment we realize we are getting ready for sleep. 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours after dinner, try dimming the lights in all of your rooms, getting into a quiet place, not stimulating your brain with work, not stimulating your brain with short form content like Instagram and social media also helps. Again, reiterating, keep a note for these stuff. Do try out different combinations of these are proven to sleep to help people sleep better at a personal, at a professional level as well. So make sure that you're following these, and most importantly, even if you're not following any of this, be aware that sleep loss is going to cost you for a lot larger than you think the cost of your successes. At Snooze by SJ, we try to help individuals, we support individuals through coaching and consulting about sleep. Sleep consulting as a field, I realize, may be fairly new to our country, but out in the West, specifically for new parents and newborns, sleep coaching has already become a phenomenon which has been even recognized by FDA, wherein sleep coaching helping individuals with their sleep awareness. That's what we are doing now. Then getting into the stages of estimation, sleep hygiene, we touched upon it a little bit. Sleep ensemble, the kind of bedding, the kind of clothes, the kind of room setup, room design. I've worked with certain real estate companies to help design their rooms for better sleep, right? This is beyond feng shui. This is basically with a very scientific and functional attitude on how you can design your bedroom so that it's the perfect place for you to sleep. Sleep therapy, again, clinical and non-clinical, and then sleep tracking, right, in association with different partners. So with this and with the note of apology about overrunning my time, I would like to thank you, and please do let me know. I'm hoping I'm getting a lot of questions at this point. Please do let me know in case you have a lot of questions. We'll try to address as many as we can. Shama, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Satwik. It was a wonderful session, and moreover, it is really alarming, Satwik, hearing all the data that you have mentioned. Anyway, let's all break the myth. You snooze and you lose. Let us break it. So we have few questions from the audience.
Yeah,
One is Himani Tripathi has asked, why
yeah.
is it difficult to sleep at night when you take a nap in the afternoon?
Okay, so like I mentioned, your brain has a clock. Your body has a clock which is called the circadian rhythm, right? And it does tell you that there is a particular time when you need to go to sleep. It does tell you that there is a particular time when you are expected to be awake. During afternoon, your brain and your body is in sync to keep you awake. So what you're doing is you're forcing your brain to go to sleep by by injecting hormones because of your food or because of the way you change your schedule, because of the way you change your room setting. your brain starts producing little amount of melatonin, right? And what happens is, if you are not keeping the nap time below 20 minutes or below 25 minutes per se, you are getting into the trap of getting into deeper sleep. Now, once you are awake from that sleep, which you may call a nap, your brain is reset, your body is reset. It thinks it's morning again,
Oh,
right? It thinks, oh, good morning, because the light is still bright, right, in the afternoon. And then it realizes, oh, I'm ready for the day. So, post that, after the activity of 3 to 4 hours, your body is in no way, shape, or form ready to go back to sleep, because your brain still thinks it's daytime and ready to go to work. Your body still is producing the hormones that you need during the daytime, and hence you cannot sleep at night.
okay. Yeah, that means the rhythm. So it means the rhythm is actually affected, right?
Absolutely. Circadian rhythm is what won the Nobel Prize back in 2017, 2018. Because as a concept, it was already and always existing. What was not, well researched was how crucial circadian rhythm is to our daily functions. Whether it is our heart, whether it's our brain, whether it's our digestive system, everything is impacted by circadian rhythm. And us Indians, in our traditional Indian medical systems and in Ayurveda, we realize that it's there. We realize the differences in our individual body types. That's why in Ayurveda there's this concept of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Right? Individuals are of different types, and hence, if you go to the traditional Vaids even today, they will not just give you those medicines and the churans and the chutneys. They will actually go ahead and suggest a regimen for you. That, you know what, start waking up at this and this time. Start having food at this and this time. Please make sure you are doing this exercise at this and this time, right? So because of all of this, circadian rhythm is a very crucial concept, and all of us who realize the power of circadian rhythm will be able to, harness the power of sleep that much easily.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, Satvik. We have one more question from Anish Aravind. How has invention of the fMRI helped us understand sleep
Oh,
better?
uh, very large extent, because what happened is, up until that, we were dependent on electrical signals and impulses which is happening through EEGs, right? Even the traditional polysomnography that is very common throughout the world today still uses a 16 or 32 channel electrode system to measure the brain impulses. And we thought the amount of electrical activity that's happening in the brain is direct correlation of what's happening during sleep, right? But with fMRI, we were able to unravel so many mysteries. One of the most fascinating studies that I read at Nature was that our brain literally eats itself when we are sleep deprived. Yeah, it's very dramatic, but actually what happens is, and I worked with brain co-cultures of both glial cells and neurons, right? And what happens essentially is, your neuron and glial cells are supposed to exist in a certain combination, right? They are expected to be present in a certain ratio. When we are sleep deprived, this ratio is thrown out of proportion. Our neurons overtake the glial cells. Glial cells are the star-shaped cells, while neurons are, responsible for throwing the signals all the way around. Glial cells are expected to make the structure of the brain. Now, because of sleep deprivation, because of our brain's hyperactivity, neurons overtake the amount of glial cells which are there, and our brain literally shrinks when we sleep less. And how was all of this possible? It was because of the advances in medical resonance imaging. It was because of advances in, let's say, even, and I'll be very candid about it, even because of the animal testing models that have grown, and even animal tissue culture models, which is basically growing brain on a plate. It's a very fascinating arm of neurobiology where we are able to unravel mysteries of brain without becoming Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Hyde and experimenting on live brains. But yes, definitely, fMRI has been a big help in realizing what is happening to our brains when we are sleeping.
Satvik, contrary to what you mentioned, the rhythm shouldn't be affected. Murli Krishnan has a question. What will be your tip for people working on different time zones? given the fact many companies will have employees in night shifts or rotational crew
Yeah,
between day and night in alternate weeks?
yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. One of the country's most prominent politicians is somebody who I'm helping with for sleep. And multiple time zones is a different challenge, right? Similar was the case for a lot of C-suite level executives that I worked with in banking sectors, venture capital firms, so on and so forth. And everywhere I was encountered with the same challenge that, you know what, I'm based in India, but I have a call in Geneva. I'm based in India, but my family is in London. I'm based in India, but my client is in Australia. And I've also worked across multiple time zones. I completely empathize. It does take a toll. It does take a beating on our bodies and our minds. Now, what happens is, uh, if you are able to plan it better, you can either become like Leonardo da Vinci, who was a polyphasic sleeper. And it's an aspirational state, I do tell you. But I've seen enough people master polyphasic sleep. What that means is they will break down the 8 to 9 hours of sleep that their body requires into 1 hour, 1.5 hour period, right? And they'll be able to put across the same amount of sleep efficiency in the same 1.5 hour of sleep, because they'll be able to complete one sleep cycle and then they wake up again, then they work, and then they are able to go back to sleep again. Needless to say, it requires dramatic level of self-discipline. It requires your ability to switch off and switch on command. It is possible, right? And personally speaking, I have not used an alarm clock in many years, right? My body automatically wakes me up at a certain point in time every morning, until unless I'm traveling and there's a weird timing if when I have to go out, or there's a very special requirement for me to wake up. The body will wake you up at a particular time during the night, during the morning. If you are able to master polyphasic sleep, you'll be able to achieve it. Secondly, a more feasible solution is the ability to actually prioritize work in the scheduled hour that you are expected to work. The whole point of the first half of my session was making sure you don't put sleep on the back burner, making sure you put sleep in the driving seat. Please prioritize sleep. Working different time zones is as much an organizational challenge as it is a personal challenge. Make sure the organizational part of it is also taking equal diligence of it as you are. Up until then, do try to schedule your most brain excruciating activities during the time zone which you are in which it's daytime, and keep housekeeping tasks for the times that you are not expected to give your 100%, right? That would make sure that while you're contributing 100%, your time is prioritized in the right way. Your sleep is also prioritized in the right way. But don't quote me to your boss.
Okay, thank you for that. One more question. You have actually mentioned few food items that supplements melatonin, right? So
Yes.
you want everybody to take those food items during night for the dinner or any time during the day?
Okay. So again, like I mentioned, sleep is not just about night. It does take importance during the night time, what you eat, and in the evening time if you're taking caffeine or not. But on an overall level, it is about how balanced your nutrition actually is. What are we trying to do when we are supplementing ourselves with melatonin? You can find melatonin even online now, right? It's no longer a regulated substance. Why do you need melatonin? You need melatonin because your body is not able to provide the right amount of melatonin naturally in your body, so you need to supplement it, right? Now, melatonin is not a compound which is produced from one food item eaten at one particular time. It's a outcome of a healthy body. A healthy body will provide enough melatonin at the right time, at the right duration, so that you are able to go to sleep better. So while diet as an intervention, that's why I use the term intervention. When do you intervene? When you see a crisis. So while diet as an intervention to a crisis is, what is happening, what is also required is for you to follow a balanced diet throughout the day. While at night, definitely taking a glass of milk with almond and honey and a few rose petals has worked wonders for a lot of hotels that I have consulted, has worked wonders in our Indian traditional food and medicine systems as well. There is no stopping from you to get a properly balanced diet throughout the day. And then, if needed at night, supplement yourself with stuff like magnesium, supplement yourself with stuff like melatonin. Again, my recommendation is please try to get non-clinical interventions first and do rely on your medical and healthcare provider if you are facing chronic sleep issues. Whatever we are discussing, this is for awareness. This is for our, let's say, realization that we do need help. But if you believe you require clinical intervention, do not hesitate to do so. Please speak to your healthcare provider. Please speak to your doctors, nurses, anybody that you have in your system about sleeping better and your sleep challenges.
Okay, so that's a good tip, Satvik. Milk with almond and rose petals. We'll definitely try it out. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, yeah,
If
absolutely.
you have time. Okay. You were mentioning about co-sleeping, and co-sleeping is not good. Could you please state the reason for that?
Okay. So again, it's a fairly controversial piece of realm of co-sleeping as a concept is a real estate generated concept. uh, Naturally, evolutionarily, male and female, or the roles of the household, however we define it, are not expected to co-sleep. Specifically, also not with children and not with other species. I have a dog in house who's not allowed into the bedroom, right? And the core fundamental behind that is that our bodies require different things, right? Whether we are husband, wife, siblings, whether we are sleeping in the same room with our parents, our pets, our children, everybody's personal need of sleep is very different, right? And because of the real estate of 20th and 21st century, sharing room became a necessity. But if you look at it, people who are affluent or individuals who are able to afford it, or for that matter, look at any house, old household from 17th, 18th, 19th century. All of them will have separate rooms for separate members of the household, right? That is because there has to be a realization that what works for me for my sleep may not work for the person that I'm sharing the bed with, right? And vice versa. And if you go beyond species, if you think your air conditioner is good for your dog to sleep, think again. They are not evolutionarily inclined to be in air conditioning. Yes, temperature regulation does play a role, but they have coats and furs to do that. Similarly, for us, if you are on the habit of sleeping on one side of the bed all of your life, suddenly, if you are told to share a bed because you're on a business trip, you're on a vacation, XYZ reasons, you will not be able to go to sleep because your brain and your body is accustomed to sleeping in a certain way. All of us, and that's why I said the sleep ritual, right? I don't want you to start a sleep ritual because I don't need to. All of you will have a sleep ritual that you follow unknowingly. It may be as bad as taking a laptop to your bedroom and propping on a pillow and then finishing up your work for the day. It can be as bad as that. But all of us do have a sleep ritual. It's just that we need to be mindful about it. We need to include factors that are good for us and our sleep. And collectively, as a household, if everybody in the household is taking care of their sleep, they are also taking care of the other person's sleep, barring snoring. And that's a separate discussion altogether.
Yeah, of course. About snoring, also, you have mentioned, and it could be a good news for many. Could you please mention that too? Why is snoring
Yeah.
happening while sleeping?
So, contrary to popular belief, snoring is not a sign of ill health. Snoring is not a sign that you're unhealthy. Snoring alone, what I mean to say. Snoring is a natural phenomenon when you're sleeping. It's basically the acoustics of your throat and your nose and your mouth playing an orchestra. For some individuals, it may be loud. For some individuals, it may be quiet. For some individuals, it may dial down when they are on their sides. For some individuals, it may increase when they are lying on their back. It's a fairly subjective, fairly personal thing. But excessive snoring, choking when you're sleeping, waking up, gasping for breath, not having a normal pattern of breathing when you're sleeping while making noise, those are signs and symbol of sleep apnea. But on a general note, as a scientist, when I was doing the sleep studies, we used to monitor people from a different room using infrared cameras. And when we could hear the snoring, it was the sign of success for us. When we gave them a, let's say, a new bed sheet, when we gave them a new fragrance, when we regulated the temperature, and then we were able to hear snoring, that was a sound of success. So, yes and no, snoring is good and bad. If it's waking the other person up and making sure they're sleep deprived, then I'm definitely empathizing with the other person who's awake because of your snoring. But a certain amount of snoring is normal, is accepted. But watch out for the danger signs. Watch out for signs like waking up with a sore throat, for signs like waking up with an itchy throat or a throat ache out of no reason, no infection. Uh, Waking up suddenly in the middle of the night because you cannot breathe. uh, the other person who's again disturbed because of your snoring will be the first person to tell you whether or not your sleep breathing is normal. In case it's not, again, please speak to your healthcare provider. Get tested for sleep apnea. It's rampant in our country because it's directly proportional to nicotine usage. It's directly proportional to caffeine usage, obesity, overweight, age, a lot of factors. So please get tested for sleep apnea as well if in case you have a doubt. I know a lot of siblings and I know a lot of spouses who have forced people to take a sleep apnea test and they have come out looking like winners because they don't have sleep apnea.
Thank you so much, Satwik. I have got hundreds of questions for you, but due to the paucity of time, I will not disturb you at the moment. But it was a wonderful session and great learning. And see, the
Good.
learnings we haven't heard of so many things. Like it is all new. We have heard today. Thank you so much for your time. And as you mentioned, for ladies, it actually improves beauty. Maybe sleeping beauty is very beautiful because of her sleep, could be right.
Yes.
And for
You
fitness,
don't get a prince charming until you are a good sleeping beauty.
okay. And for fitness, it burns calories you were mentioning. So
Yes.
let us all recharge our mind, cleanse our system by taking proper sleep. So sleep, sleep, sleep. Thank you so much for this wonderful session, Satwik. Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
My
Bye
pleasure.
bye.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody. Good night.